My Dance Hub Student of the Week show. I'm Brian Hankins, and today we have George Murray, competitive and social dancer. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to have you. So before we start with our usual questions, I've heard that you're part of a secret society. Is this something you can talk about on camera?
There are things I can tell you.
Okay.
I can verify that's true.
Okay.
It's the Freemasons in Naperville. It's actually a worldwide organization. I was fortunate last November to be installed as the master of the lodge.
Wow.
Which is really the equivalent of the president of the organization. And that's a term that lasts for 1 year. I was really honored that Yana and Seiko came to see my installation. It's the one meeting a year that we allow the public in.
Oh, wow.
And that's really a ruse to convince people that it's not secret.
Or at least introduce them to what it is. 'Cause otherwise people have this hazy idea or vision of...
Yeah, they're very curious.
Yeah.
Because we conduct our meetings behind closed doors.
Sure.
And you do take oaths to secrecy and so on. But for the most part, it's a fraternal, charitable organization.
Yeah. So can you give me an example of some of the things that Freemasons do within the community?
Well, we give away a lot of money to charity.
Okay.
We hold a academic bowl for the local high schools.
Okay.
We have something called the ILCHIP program, where you can bring your child to one of the centers and have their picture taken.
Nice.
Get information about those sorts of things.
Yeah, very cool. I think it's always nice to have some kind of organization where you feel like you're giving back to the world. So that's a nice thing.
Yeah, and when you get to the higher levels, you find that there really are secrets. And the interesting thing is, it's not the secrets themselves that are interesting. It's that it's based on trust. And so the idea is that you will come to the aid of a brother whenever you can if they need it.
So there's kind of like a brotherhood or fellowship that goes along with it too, like sort of maybe like you would have in the military or something, or maybe like the police officers or firemen.
Yeah, it's a fraternity, a brotherhood.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's one of the things they talk about in modern society is people are missing community, right? So I think it's great to find a place to get that. And I feel like part of why people come to dancing or My Dance Hub is a little bit the community that developed here. Maybe tell us a little bit about what brought you here and what keeps you here.
So I've had dance lessons before, earlier in my life, but didn't necessarily get what I wanted out of it. I didn't want to come in and get the hard sell on the wedding package.
Yes, right.
But I went to a cruise to Havana a couple of years ago. And on the boat, there were various nightclubs, and there were lots of Cuban girls. And you couldn't, if you walked by, they would drag you in. Yeah. And say, come dance. Yeah. And they were doing this sort of side-to-side dance. I didn't know what it was. Yeah. And I asked them, they said, well, it's bachata. It's the national dance of our country. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I can kind of imitate that. Yeah. When I got back, at the same time I was taking guitar lessons and voice lessons, and I saw an interview at that school. This was the Old Town School of Folk Music. Oh yeah. There was an interview. A composer said, "Well, you can't understand music apart from its connection to dance. Yeah. The two have been together forever," and that was his take on musicality and so. And so those ideas were rattling around, and I Googled and I saw My Dance Hub, and so I just lived down the street. So yeah, it was.
So what was it like when you came in the first day, and how did it start?
So I was really thinking that I'm going to go in, and if I don't like it, I'm going to walk. Yeah. And as soon as I came in, I met Seiko, and I met my teacher at the time. Yeah. And there was a very nice connection. Yeah. And I said, well, I'm not preparing for a wedding or something like that, but I'd like to learn about these different dances. Yeah,
you kind of had your why for sort of maybe learning bachata or something, so the next time you have a cruise or something, like you're ready.
I wanted to understand it, I wanted to understand more about social dance, and I pretty quickly got into the competition, which for me was the men's smooth, or American smooth. I really hadn't been exposed to that sort of Latin rhythm, and in particular the Cuban hip motion.
Yeah.
I think if you grew up in one of those cultures, you probably learn
more
that
natural, yeah.
as soon as you learn to walk.
I feel like that's one of the hardest things for, I don't know, maybe it's guys and girls, but guys just aren't used to doing that with their hips. Like, I feel like when you're first learning the whole Cuban motion thing, it's very awkward for a while until your body kind of gets used to it.
Right, it doesn't feel natural, but I mean, that's what I mean. If you grew up with it,
then it probably is. You don't even think about it.
Yeah, and I think people. I mean, I saw in Cuba, people of all ages were dancing.
It was very natural for them.
Very natural, yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So you, I guess, to back up a little bit, you started with social dance in this, or you started kind of almost immediately into like competition kind of stuff? Because I feel like they're a little bit different paths.
They are.
Yeah.
I think they're very different. No, after just a couple of conversations with my teacher, we were on the path for competition.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's very interesting. I'm a pretty competitive person.
Or it's a way to challenge yourself or give yourself a goal.
Right. And I grew up. I grew up doing martial arts.
Yeah.
And so I was
used to this idea.
Well, I was used to the idea of competing and also a very repetitive regime to learn something.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a little more pleasant. Nobody's trying to hit you.
For the most part. Depends on if you're doing the steps right. Sometimes I get hit occasionally.
Right.
So you did this competition, and then from there, where did you want to take your dancing, or where did it go from there?
Well, I stepped back a little bit, and I thought, well, this is very interesting, but I wanted to go back to the idea, my original idea of, okay, well, I want to learn about bachata.
Yeah, the social dancing side.
The social dancing, right. And so it just happened at the time that I got two new teachers, Yana and Seiko. So, I mean, how lucky is that?
Yeah, they're good set of teachers.
Excellent teachers.
Yeah.
And so I went off on a separate path with each of them.
Okay, so what were you working on?
Bachata with Seiko. And then some cha-cha with Yana. I know you're a cha-cha guy.
I've done some cha-cha in my life, yeah.
That's a workout.
It's a workout, it's tricky dancing. It's like not only do you have like the Cuban motion stuff happening, but you have it happening pretty fast.
Pretty fast, a lot of stopping and moving in different directions.
Yeah, really sharp kind of movements. Yeah. It's fun, but definitely it's a workout, and trying to stay on time can be tricky. You got the ands happening, and but no, it's a fun dance.
And that was really along the path of from really the beginning. Yana had pushed me to do showcases, and so the cha-cha preparation was for a showcase for that.
And how do you feel about showcases?
Well, I like them.
Yeah.
I like it, and to me, a showcase feels very much like competitive dancing.
Yeah.
Same elements. You've got the same partner. You're practicing a routine.
Yeah.
Practicing it many times.
Yeah.
Trying to first to learn it and then polish it. And I like that. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
That aspect of it. Compared to social dancing.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's been a challenge for me, is because you have to know, okay, so the basic pattern for each dance and enough variations.
Yeah.
And they kind of have to be secondhand in a way.
Right. So you're not thinking about it on the floor. Oh, you're gonna do this. Maybe I'll do this.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta sort of be halfway confident about to lead it.
Right. The lead is the hard part.
And what's your take on the whole lead and follow versus a choreographed dance? Do you prefer one to the other? Is there one you're better at? What's...
So for me, a choreographed performance, whether it's in a competition or a showcase performance, that's easier for me at this point, because once you've got the routine, then you're polishing.
Yeah.
It's in some ways, I don't want to say terrifying, but to go and ask somebody to dance that maybe not asking me, but because they're going to say yes, and okay.
Now what are we going to do? Now I got to figure out something to do.
Right.
See, if we were just ladies, it'd be so much easier. We could just follow. It's on them to figure out what to do. We just have to respond.
Yeah. So I like both of them. For me, it's much more challenging at this point in my development to get those patterns so that they're secondhand, and then make the good lead so that you're not.
Yeah.
Because once you hit that beat, it's too late.
It's too
she
late.
doesn't know
You're
where
kind
to
of
go.
need a little advance notice.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It is fascinating, that whole lead and follow. When it works, it really works. When it doesn't work, it really falls apart.
Right.
But yeah, how do you feel about? Do you feel like since this is kind of how you got started with the social dance, do you feel like social dancing is a good way to meet people?
I think that coming here in this sort of environment is a very good way to meet people.
And describe what you mean by this sort of environment for someone that may not be familiar with my dance.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of group classes or the social events, as opposed to going to a club and meeting random people.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever met a girl who doesn't like a guy who can dance.
Sure.
If he can dance.
Right. Back to that, getting that lead and follow right.
Right. And it takes a certain confidence, but it also takes some practice.
Yeah, it does.
So, my experience coming here has been, I've met a lot of people.
Yeah.
People of different ages and backgrounds, and it's very supportive.
Yeah.
It's a very affirmative atmosphere.
Yeah.
People are friendly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got different circles of friends, like my musician friends, and I've got my Mason friends, and other things that I do. This is a very creative and fun group. And I think I haven't taken many group classes, but certainly you would get to know those people.
Sure. It tends to be like the regulars. Like if you did the Tuesday night salsa class, this is pre-COVID, obviously.
Right.
You know, you would kind of get to know those salsa people on Tuesday nights, and there's definitely something nice about that and building a community and practicing your lead and follow with 10 different people, right? You know, so that's one nice is you're rotating partners,
right?
Because if I can do this with this person and this person, and like you said, it's kind of like you just got to get out there and practice it. And,
I think that's it. It really is. To get to the point where you're not trying to remember the moves, but they're secondhand, and you've got, and you can just, okay, this follows this, follows this.
Yeah. It's just kind of your body knows where to go, kind of thing.
Exactly. Your body knows where to go. Yeah. Because to go to a dance, I still find it stressful if I'm trying to remember. Okay, for this dance, a rumba, it's box step, and then this turn, and then this turn. It would be much more fun to be able to just feel like, oh, okay, we're going in this direction. Let's
just
keep
do
going.
this. I always think about it like, for each of the dances, I know the basic and I know 2 or 3 patterns that I feel like I could kind of lead anyone that knows a little bit of ballroom or a little bit of dancing. And then I'm always kind of like, I need to learn some more patterns so I can do more with it. But I feel like that at least kind of gets me through, each of them. Yeah.
And I think an example would be like, in bachata, you could do a high turn, or you could do a lower turn, and it's really the same thing. It's a turn, but it's
just like a variation. Yeah.
Get a little variety.
Yeah. What would you say is the hardest thing about dance for you?
Leading.
Leading, the whole
leading successfully.
Yeah, and that's just because you feel like you have the pattern in your head, or what makes leading hard? Well, for someone that's never maybe led someone dancing, what's hard about it?
So you have to be at least a half beat ahead of the dance itself. So primarily your lead is going to be either this hand or this hand in some manner. You're giving an indication, turn, turn, whatever the lead is, but you have to do that before you get to the point where you want them to turn.
Yeah. So you got to be ahead of everything, kind of.
Yeah, it's like you're dancing for 2 people.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. I think just what makes it a challenge for me is I just haven't had enough repetition.
Yeah. Do you have a hard time balancing like dancing with the rest of your life, like in terms of getting time to practice or getting into the studio to get a lesson in, or is it you're able to fit it in sort of seamlessly?
I think of it as an important part of my life.
Yeah.
So I make time for it.
Yeah.
Just like I make time for exercise.
Yeah.
And I make time for music, and they all complement each other.
Yeah.
But you do have to make time for it.
Yeah.
One thing I found for learning guitar or vocals or dancing, well, you can show up and hope for the best, but it's going to be a much different experience, a much better experience if you practiced something before you get there.
Right.
Sometimes for dancing, it's difficult to practice on your own, but I supplement that with exercise.
Sure. So you're kind of doing things that complement dancing. So being in shape obviously helps you dance better.
Yeah, right. So you don't get winded.
What about someone that maybe came to the studio for the first time and was just trying out dancing? What would you tell them as like a getting started?
I would say that to get, let me start that over.
Sure.
I would say that to give yourself permission to feel awkward,
that's good.
Understand that if you're learning something new and it's complex, you're not going to be that good at it for a while. And it's going to take a number of times of having this feeling of being awkward, or maybe not 100% confident. So, and I tell myself this all the time.
That's really good.
Give myself permission to have incomplete successes.
Yeah.
And the biggest success is just showing up.
Yeah, I mean, there's some quote about like, part of being successful about something is you got to be bad at it at first. Like when you just start something, you're going to be bad at it. And I think for people that start things later in life, and if they've been successful at other things, work, whatever it is, other hobbies, it's hard to come into dancing when you're 40 or 50 and kind of suck at it. Like and go through that phase of you see all these other people that have, are amazing, have been doing it since they were 5 or 20 years or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, well, okay, that's where I want to be. But you don't realize, like, they started bad too. You're just seeing they further along in their journey. Yeah, no, definitely. If I come in and I see somebody that's very impressive and I think I want to be that way. Yeah. And then the first time I stumble, there's a certain frustration. Yeah. But I just have to remind myself that it is something new. It's a complex behavior. Yeah. And at first, you've got 5 different things you're trying to figure out. Yeah. And gradually, many of those recede and become secondhand. Yeah. And so now you're polishing what you already knew. Yeah. It is like layering almost. It's like, okay, let me get this down. I got the steps. Now let me try to make everything look better. Oh, let me try to stand up straighter, right? Let me try to get an arm out, Right. And it's just you're kind of like layering on. Well, and the aha moment for me was dancing with my partner, and it was kind of secondhand, and we were actually achieving. It was flowing with the music. You hit that magical moment. You hit that moment, and you can see it in your partner's. You can see it in your partner's eyes that they're enjoying it, and it's a very happy thing. And so it's worth sticking with it. Yeah, because in 5 or 10 lessons, you're only going to get so far. Yes. Yeah, and I think there is something that whole giving yourself permission to be bad at it for a little bit. I think is great for a new person. Is a great lesson. Well, I agree, and I was thinking about that. Is every time you progress, every time you learn, you go from bronze level to silver level, you're still in that same situation where it's something new, and maybe it's a lot more complicated. But at first, you're just not going to be 100%. Yeah. No, I think that's great. Tell me a little bit about. Let's move off of dancing a little bit to understand a little more about you. What's your favorite way to relax when you're not dancing? At the end of the day, or what do you do to relax? What do I do to relax? I like to read. I actually find exercising kind of relaxing. Yeah. I acquired a water. You know what a water rower is? So I am familiar with them. I think that's what they have at like Orange Theory. They're water rowers, right? I've never been there, but it's basically like a donut with paddles in there, and there's water in it. Yeah. And when you row, you get this sloshing sound, and it it feels more like you're really rowing. It feels more like you're actually rowing. I see. So I use rowers a lot at my wife's gym, CrossFit gym, and it doesn't have the water though. I mean, it's a good workout. I would really recommend it. Yeah. World of difference from like the air paddles. Oh, really interesting. Electronic resistance. Just because it gives you a little more the feel of like you're actually there. It does, and the resistance varies a little bit because when you pull back and it's the resistance, and then the water settles down. More like how real water, like rowing in real water. Oh wow, that's fascinating. I'll have to check it out. I cook. Okay, that's a good way to relax.
Well, it's because it's results oriented.
Yeah.
For one, and it's a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of
Yeah.
I was trying to teach my daughter that important part of cooking, how you know something's done, is how it smells.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So you don't do the tasting?
Oh yeah, tasting.
So you mentioned reading. Do you have a favorite book or movie that you feel like has had a big influence on you?
Well, I read all kinds of things, but I had never read Ernest Hemingway before.
Okay. I've never read a lot of Hemingway, but I've heard great things.
You know, I did the same way. I heard. Oh, well,
you see quotes, or you kind of.
Yeah. For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot.
Well, why was that one impactful for you?
Well, the ending.
I don't know. You're not going to spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil the ending.
Spoil it for the
I'm not going
audience.
to spoil the ending.
Okay.
For Whom the Bell Tolls, the whole story leads up to every sentence leads up to the last sentence.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you don't realize it.
Yeah,
You're reading
until
the story,
you get through it.
and you get to the end, and oh wow, that was one of the best endings I've ever read.
I'll have to add that to my list. It's always like, I'm always like, I should do Hemingway, and there's something about his writing style that's very distinctive too. And every now and then I'll see a quote that I really love by him. All right.
It's very direct. It's to the point.
Yeah.
A Farewell to Arms.
Okay. Yeah.
That's another
okay.
great one.
Yeah, I'll check both of those out.
Yeah.
How about this one? If you could put a message on the billboard for the world to see, what would it be?
Well, I would say what I try to tell myself and really live out is to fail forward and often.
I like that.
And by failing forward, of course, I mean trying new things and dissecting what was successful, what wasn't.
Yeah.
And try it again, and always keep trying new things. So I think fail forward is one part of the message, but often.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think sometimes we can be afraid of failure, and it prevents us from trying things or moving forward. And I think you got to be sort of like, if I'm trying new things, I'm going to fail, and it's not the end of the world,
No, rarely is. Think about it. If you failed twice as many times as other people, you'd be
making a lot more progress, right? Yeah. So fail faster. Right?
Fail faster.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Well, this is good. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before I wrap us up?
There is one thing. Sure. I've seen several of these interviews, and I think you do a fantastic job.
Thank you. Well, I enjoy doing it. I think it's one of those where I think the whole dance world is fascinating, and I also just love talking to people and learning more about them. So I think one thing that's nice about this format is give people a chance to just learn more about someone. They may only see you for whatever, a half hour in the studio and see you dancing, but they don't get to know anything else about you. And so this is a fun way for me, and hopefully for the audience too, to learn more about people.
Yeah, no, it is nice to learn about people, because you're right, you do see them, but you don't really know anything about them.
Yeah.
But you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a fun gig, so I'm gonna keep doing it for a while. So I'll go ahead and continue my job, and I'll take us out.
Okay.
This has been another episode of the My Dance Hub Student of the Week. Until next time, do what you love and keep dancing.